Hi, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to, and also a very good day to everyone. Hi, my name is Dr. Shira. So, for this video, we are going to talk about international relation, introduction about international relation. So, here we have three main discussion. Number one, about the definition of international relation. And number two, approaches in international relations. And number three, the three important concept in international relations. We have state, what is national power, and also what is diplomacy. So the definition of international relations, it is about a study of the state relationship. Okay, so we call it state systems. So if we are not in any country, so we will be categorized as stateless, and a person without having any state do not have any rights. And that's the thing about that's what happened to a lot of stateless person. They unable to study, they unable to work, and so forth. And however, in the current development, it's not just about the state, but there are also a lot of things. Okay, here when we talk about state, it is equal to country. Okay, country and state, these are the two same definition. Okay, it is different as Malaysian. I know when we talk about state, you always thought about negeri. No, this is state means Malaysia, America, and so forth, just like country in this particular international relations subject. Yeah. So currently we have more actors. We have IO is international organization. For example, we have United Nations. We are going to learn about the United Nations later. And then we do have NGO, non-governmental organizations. So I will elaborate about this in the next chapter. And then we have multinational cooperation and also other actors. Unfortunately, just like terrorists, they are also a part of actors. Actors in international relation refers to they do have certain ability to shape what kind of international relation we will have, what kind of global scenario that we will have. So as I mentioned, state system is about social relations, right? And it is a political between groups of human beings. So that's why we still have status when it comes to international relations, although all countries are sovereign, but it is the power of a country depends on the economic, the ability to manage the conflicts and so forth. Those countries that unable to manage conflict usually will be at the bottom of the hierarchy. There are certain advantages and disadvantages for the participants. So there will be weak and strong, there will be weak state, strong state, and so forth. So approaches in international relation, when I talk about approaches, I'm talking about how we see international relations, all right? So we have these are the approaches. We have mainstream approach and we have alternative approach, and also we do have in the middle that is considering both. We call it social constructivist. Okay, what is realism and what is real liberalism? We are going to learn about that. And also the alternative approach, such as feminism. I'm sure you have heard about this. Post-colonialism, maybe you have not heard about this. And also postmodernism. So here, let me just go straight because this is an introductory. I would like you to explore and also just introduce to you the terms, and I will be giving to you the right reading materials in order for you to understand it better. So, modern political theories, okay, as I mentioned, realism, if you can see, is all about power and conflict. And for realists, conflict is something that any state cannot avoid. So it's all about the key actor, it's all about state, the most powerful, and so forth, and more concentrating on military power and, of course, democracy. And they believe that international system is anarchic. Okay, everybody can do whatever they want, so there will be chaos. Definitely, there will be chaos. Okay, and all states are pursuing their own self-interest um, and balance of power. Balance is not like balance, but balance means there are certain people who are certain country that is having more power that able to control the whole global countries. So liberalism is different. I'm sure that you have heard liberal is kind of like bad, but actually, in theory, liberalism is something that is good, that is looking at human being and also relationship of the state as cooperative and interdependent, that we are able to contain conflict and go for cooperation and interdependence. Okay, key actors, states, institution, IGOs, and the main tool is not military power, but the main tool is the law and also order and the international institution in order to regulate and limit any kind of misery and conflict or even the worst war. Okay, largely objective. It is about anarchic system, but it is also about that countries want to lessen the misery of wars and so forth. They want to be prosperous country. So liberalism go for prosperity, for how to actually enrich human life rather than to be dominant and end human life like what really is trying to do. When it comes to constructivists, it is more about the value and also very, very much complementing liberalism and realism. So constructivists believe of whatever that we are doing, whatever the states are doing, acting, that will accumulate to become what's the future. For example, if the countries or the states believe in war and also military power, invest so much in military weapons and so forth, so the world will not be safe and will have more conflict. Whereby, if the countries invest more on economic gain and also development, so the world will become a better place for human beings. So these are the three. That's a little bit about approaches. Okay, so feminist approaches that I have mentioned just now. Okay, let me just explain a little bit about alternative approach. Here, I would like to explain about feminism. Feminism is a way of thinking that look at international relation from the feminist perspective. The question mark is where are the women in the international relation discourse, whereby if you look at the World War One, World War Two, and most of the policies, they only have and highlighted the male actors and silence when it comes to female actors. So feminism is asking the question, where are women in international relation affairs and the state affairs? Post-colonialism is about traces of how countries live and also survive after the colonial power left. There are a lot of traces of invisible colonization, whereby there's a continuity of colonization after the colonial powers left. For example, like in countries or Commonwealth countries, we inherit the policies that British the legacy of British. For example, like we still have divide and rule policy in Malaysia, whereby our school system we still have a school system, not just national school, but also the other schools. So this is one of the legacy of British because this can actually weaken the unity of Malaysia. Unfortunately, until today, we do not want to let go this negative legacy. Okay, so state, national power, and the policy. So state in traditional view or a country in traditional view, like all of us, we benefit from a state. whereby it is a valuable institution. They give us security, freedom, order, justice, and welfare. So people get benefit. Okay, like all of us, you and me, we gain benefit from state and state system because we have citizenship, we have passports and so forth. So it has become a core institutions of international relations. So countries, states are the core. However, alternative view, they believe that state and state system create more problems than they solve. For example, to the stateless person, to the country that are in the conflict zone, whereby when they want to flee, they can't go anywhere because other countries or other state refuse to accept them. Yeah, because their passport is already labeled as a conflict zone and they are not welcome. There are even people who died in the middle of the sea just because they are trying to run away from a country that is not safe for them anymore. And other country rejected them. Why? Because they are not the citizen of that country. So it kind of like sacrificing humanities, and just because we are so focusing on territory and also state value and system. The majority of the world's people suffer more than they benefit from the system. For example, when we have a country that are in famine or in a country that do not have enough food to eat, but there are countries who has the problem of obesity. Okay, just like us, we are in the category that we do have a lot of people obesity, whereby because we are prosperous. However, there are countries that unable to have any food to survive. So it is a setup for the elite, rich, and majority. So like Malay, we are the majority of Malaysians, so we do have certain advantage. Chinese and some Indians, they have advantage in terms of rich and the ability to have more money and also wealth. However, there are marginalization of every country against poor, unfortunately also against women because women are left behind in terms of voice in politics, and also of course the minority, for example like orang asli in Malaysia. So stateless and starving, for example, like Rohingya, the Myanmar refused to accept them as the citizen and they're being treated badly and they are unable to actually flee in other country and get a citizenship. So like in Malaysia, they can come to Malaysia but they live in a bad condition because they are not a citizen of Malaysia. International issues, we can see there are many issues. For example, like women in Saudi, last time they are unable to drive, so now they just receive what we call it opportunity and also rights to drive. Okay, Venezuela economic crisis issues. Please Google about Venezuela economic crisis issues. Like a bag of money of Venezuela equal to 16 ringgit of our money or $4 of US money. So it shows how bad is the economic crisis in Venezuela. Please Google about Venezuela. Hunger is for us is something that is not even in our thinking that somebody can die out of hunger, right? In certain country, yes, and there are thousands of children died out of hunger every single day. Yeah. Afghanistan's condition, you can see also Afghanistan is a conflict zone, a perpetual place that had a lot of conflict and still in a conflict. So their country is not really in a good condition. So this is one of the reason the people in Afghanistan suffer. So state system, there are five fundamental human values, and here we put it into four: security, freedom, order and justice, and welfare and welfare. All right. So security, that we are secure, and freedom, that we are able to go for peace and progress. Order and justice, in other words, we can even plan what we want to do from for today. Petang ni we want to have buka puasa and so forth, so we can do that. And welfare, of course, if we are sick, we can get medical treatment and so forth. As I mentioned just now, Okay, security is a realist theory approach, and most of us, all countries need to take care of national security from the internal threat or even the external threats. Freedom, a country is supposed to give freedom, the right freedom to the people, and they only can be free if they get merdeka, like our country. A war threatens freedom and peace for foster freedom. So, like in Malaysia, we always avoid or do our best to contain any kind of conflict first. The worst is civil war or internal war. Yeah. Peace also leads to progress development. So this is what liberalists believe. And states should cooperate with each other to maintain peace and freedom to pursue progressive change. For example, like in Malaysia, we do have a good relationship with Singapore, although we do have kind of like a little bit of conflicting kind of historical background between the two. And also, we have a good relationship with Indonesia, although there are certain times hiccups here and there, Brunei and other parts of the world countries. Order and justice, as I mentioned, we are able to have treaties, conventions, and so forth. And human rights is one of it, that we have justice because we do have human rights. And you need to remember, human rights is not something that is all everybody able to have human rights. Okay, it is something that is quite new in our modern society. Ancient civilization, they do not even know what is human rights is all about. Okay, and of course, promoting justice and order. Welfare, that a state supposed to give welfare to people. For example, like states supposed to be responsible if we have high unemployment. Okay, we need to have a good employment, and also in order to have a better welfare, the government needs to be able to empower the people to get the wealth. Yeah. Last one is the concept on the policy. Okay, it is a method of influencing decision or behavior. So when a government wants to deal with another government, another country's government, they need to be able to negotiate through dialogues and also other measures and do their best to avoid and not having any war or violence approach. Okay, the purpose of diplomacy is to strengthen the state, nation, and organization as it serves in relation to other by advancing the interest in its charge. So at the end of the day, it's all about who's get what and how to have equal opportunity for both. All right. So practitioners of diplomacy are specialists, specialized in carry out messages and negotiating. So usually they will not use hyperbola or emotional sentences and statement. Why? Because they need to be neutral when they negotiate, and the weapon is words. Okay, and also back with power, they are represented. And usually diplomats, we have this diplomat representative of a country. Like in Malaysia, we have a lot in Jalan Ampang, diplomats from everywhere in the world. They have their houses and so forth in Ampang area. So these diplomats will actually give information to their leader back to the country about the nature and the needs of the country like Malaysia. Okay, so that the leaders of their country able to understand the in-depth understanding about that particular country for them to develop strategies and tactics to have a good relationship. So that's all about international relation. Yes, it's a little bit heavy, but it is. This is an introductory. At least you know that it is how our government, like Malaysia, have a good build a good relationship with other country in the world. So that's all. Thank you.